Upbeat, intriguing music starts and fades slightly into the background. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're journeying back in time, not just to another era, but to a world deliberately hidden from Western eyes for over 2 centuries. Imagine an empire that slammed its doors shut, choosing to cultivate its own unique culture, art, and society in complete isolation. This is the story of Japan's secret empire, the Tokugawa shogunate, a period of breathtaking art, rigid social order, and simmering tension that would ultimately change the course of history forever. Our story begins at the dawn of the 17th century. Japan was a land fractured by a century of relentless civil war, a chaotic period known as the Sengoku Jidai, or the Age of Warring States. Powerful warlords, the daimyo, battled fiercely for control, their samurai armies clashing across the countryside. It was an age of betrayal, ambition, and constant conflict. But from this crucible of chaos, one man would rise to unify the nation and forge a lasting peace. His name was Tokugawa Ieyasu. Ieyasu was a master strategist, a patient and cunning leader who outmaneuvered all his rivals. The final, decisive battle took place in 1600 at Sekigahara. It was the largest samurai battle in Japanese history, a bloody clash that cemented Ieyasu's position as the undisputed ruler of Japan. In 1603, the emperor bestowed upon him the title of shogun, the supreme military commander. This wasn't just another victory. It was the birth of a dynasty that would rule for the next 260 years. With the wars finally over, the Tokugawa shogunate faced a new challenge: how to maintain peace and control. Their solution was ingenious and absolute. They established a new capital in Edo, which we now know as Tokyo, and implemented a strict social hierarchy. At the top were the samurai, the warrior class who now served as administrators and bureaucrats. Below them were the farmers, the artisans, and at the bottom, the merchants. This rigid structure was designed to ensure everyone knew their place, and that stability was maintained at all costs. A key part of this control was the Sankin Kotai, or alternate attendance system. The daimyo were required to spend every other year in Edo, and when they returned to their own domains, they had to leave their wives and heirs behind as hostages. This policy not only kept the powerful lords in check, but also spurred economic growth, as vast processions traveled back and forth, creating a network of roads, inns, and bustling commerce. But perhaps the most dramatic policy of the Tokugawa was sakoku, the chained country policy. Alarmed by the growing influence of European traders and Christian missionaries, whom they saw as a threat to their power, the shogunate expelled nearly all foreigners. Japanese citizens were forbidden from leaving the country on pain of death. For the next 2 centuries, Japan was almost completely cut off from the outside world, with only a tiny, highly restricted Dutch trading post on the island of Dejima in Nagasaki Harbor, serving as its sole window to the west. This period of isolation, known as the Edo period, was far from stagnant. In fact, freed from the constant drain of warfare, Japanese culture exploded in a vibrant and unique way. With the samurai class losing its military function, a new urban culture, driven by the rising merchant class, began to flourish. This was the world of the ukiyo, or the floating world. In the bustling cities of Edo, Osaka, and Kyoto, new forms of art and entertainment blossomed. Theaters came alive with kabuki, a dramatic and flamboyant form of theater with elaborate costumes and makeup, and bunraku, a sophisticated form of puppet theater. Artists like Hokusai and Hiroshige created stunning ukiyo-e, or woodblock prints, depicting scenes from everyday life, beautiful courtesans, famous actors, and iconic landscapes like the Great Wave off Kanagawa. These prints, once considered disposable popular art, would later go on to inspire European Impressionist painters like Monet and Van Gogh. It was a time of contradictions. While the samurai were officially the ruling class, many fell into poverty, forced to sell their swords. Meanwhile, the merchants, officially at the bottom of the social ladder, grew wealthy and became the patrons of this vibrant new culture. This internal tension, this slow shifting of power and wealth, was a fault line running just beneath the surface of this seemingly peaceful society. Peace and prosperity also led to a rise in education and literacy. Philosophy and learning thrived. However, the shogunate's rigid control and resistance to change were creating pressures that couldn't be contained forever. The world outside Japan's locked gates was changing rapidly. The Industrial Revolution was transforming Europe and America, and these new powers were hungry for new markets and resources. Their steam-powered ships were getting closer and closer. The beginning of the end came in 1853. 4 American warships, massive black vessels belching smoke, sailed uninvited into Edo Bay. Commanded by Commodore Matthew Perry, they carried a letter from the U.S. president demanding that Japan open its ports to trade. The Japanese, whose own military technology had barely advanced in 200 years, were stunned. Perry's black ships were a shocking demonstration of Western industrial might. The arrival of Commodore Perry shattered the foundation of the shogunate. The shogun's government was thrown into crisis. Agreeing to the American demands would be seen as a sign of weakness, but resisting could mean a war they knew they could not win. The debate raged across Japan, dividing the country. Some argued for opening up and learning from the West to strengthen Japan, while others fiercely advocated for expelling the barbarians and maintaining their isolation. Ultimately, the shogunate capitulated, signing treaties that were deeply unfavorable to Japan. This act fatally undermined their authority. To many, the shogun had failed in his primary duty, to protect the nation. This ignited a powerful movement to revere the emperor and expel the barbarians. The old rivalries of the daimyo, suppressed for centuries, flared back to life. A brief but decisive civil war erupted, pitting the forces loyal to the shogunate against a coalition of powerful southern domains. In 1868, the last Tokugawa shogun resigned, and power was officially restored to the young Emperor Meiji. This event, known as the Meiji Restoration, marked the end of Japan's secret empire and the end of the samurai era. The doors were flung open and Japan embarked on a breathtakingly rapid program of modernization, transforming itself from a reclusive feudal society into a global industrial power in just a few decades. The legacy of the Tokugawa shogunate is complex. It was a time of oppressive control and strict hierarchy, but also a period of unprecedented peace that allowed a unique and beautiful culture to flourish. The art, philosophy, and social structures of the Edo period continue to define much of what the world thinks of as traditionally Japanese. It was a secret empire that, in its attempt to stand still, created a legacy that continues to move and inspire us to this day. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into Japan's past. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments what other historical topics you'd like to explore. Until next time, stay curious.